I was lucky enough to taste Sauv Sems again, always quite a highlight when it comes to this competition. It's a small category, but the best wines we make are world class. They're absolutely spectacular wines. They are, however, of the most difficult wines for the market to understand. I think one of the great things is we need a lot more education when it comes to Sauv Sems. And a Sauvignon Blanc Semillon blend is the kind of wine that stands on a table. It needs food to really showcase what it can do. But what we've seen over the years that these wines easily last 8 to 10 years, and of our most long-living wines that we make in South Africa in the modern era. So again, it was a small category, and we got 2 golds out of it. The wines are great, it's tracking on. If you're a consumer or a collector, they're really well worth seeking out because they give a very special kind of intellectual kind of experience. So Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, the two sides of a coin, everybody trying to emulate Burgundy, which is the benchmark. Luckily enough to sit on this panel again. Chardonnay has just been going from strength to strength. It's a variety that I think is often called the winemaker's variety. It's, we forget, it's a non-aromatic variety, so it needs a lot of little birds chirping in the background to help you enjoy the wine as well. But the Chardonnay is spectacular in South Africa. It's world class. It sits alongside anything in the New World and even some wonderful Burgundian examples. When it comes to Pinot Noir, it's a little bit of a more sour face that one has to pull. I think it's still a work in progress. We say that often. It's moving by inches instead of by years. And I think it's about vineyard age. There's a lot of better handling and working with it in the wineries. But we're only now discovering where it can grow, where it works in South Africa, what soil types work, and the right clones on the right soils, and those vineyards are only really coming into maturation now. So we're only seeing the depth from the vineyard that aids in the winemaking to give us a better Pinot. So the Pinots, I feel it seems like it's still about a decade behind Chardonnay, which is quite sad. Chardonnay, great though. Cabernet Franc, we had a very small little cross-section of Cabernet Franc. It's been going from strength to strength. Very few places in the world make straight Cabernet Franc. It's generally seen as part of a blending component. You see in the south of France and Caux, there are other areas where it does play a role, but Cabernet Franc generally is a blending partner in Bordeaux. I was lucky enough to taste with Michel, and Michel made a beautiful comment in reminding us of what the name Cabernet Franc means, where the Franc in Cabernet comes from. And the Franc is kind of a stripped down honesty as a grape variety. And through that lens, it was quite interesting to look at Cabernet Franc afresh. His comments were, we must make sure we find out what the South African kind of exposition of this variety is. And there are 2 kind of schools at the moment. The one is kind of on heavier clay soils, where we have a more plush, kind of round, fleshy fruit exposition. The other one is on lighter kind of granitic soils, where we've got a lot of florals, kind of bay leafy, herbaceous kind of element that's part of the wine. Both those examples came through, beautiful wines. Again, like Pinot Noir, a bit of work in progress, but a lot of excitement, I think, from a small category. And we look forward to some really fantastic samples in the future. But we need to make sure we find our own style and not worry too much about emulating Loire or the Bordeaux.